Hello there, I am Nadia Azmi and you are tuning in to Nightline, the top stories. Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid denies BN agrees to form government with PN GPS. And form your coalition, submit PM candidate's name, Istana Negara tells party leaders. Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi late Sunday denied that Barisan Nasional (BN) had engaged in any talks with Gabungan Parti Sarawak GPS on forming a federal government with Perikatan Nasional (PN). The BN chief said there have also been no negotiations with PN which led to any understanding on forming a federal government with the coalition. Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid said he was referring to a statement by GPS chairman and Sarawak Premier Tan Sri Abang Johari Oping, stressing that BN had never once negotiated with GPS to give its agreement on forming a federal government with PN. In a statement, he also added that to date there have been no discussions with PN on forming a federal government with them. Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid noted that all BN members of Parliament who had won in the 15th General Election GE15 had signed a pledge and given him the mandate as chairman to determine any political coalitions to form the federal government. He said as such, any MPs who go against party orders would see them being stripped of their membership as well as lose their seat. He said that was in line with the anti-party hopping law as enshrined in the federal constitution. Towards supporting a federal government beneficial to Sabah and Sarawak, GRS Chairman Datuk Seri Haji Noor said both states have agreed to discuss collaborating in a Borneo block.
Itu kita akan bincangkan, tetapi kita lebih kepada kerajaan yang akan dibentuk, sebuah kerajaan yang memberi kestabilan kepada Sabah. Kita tidak boleh nyatakan di sini kerana kita belum dapat keputusan secara rasmi.
Datuk Seri Haji, who is Sabah Chief Minister, said the GRS-BN Pact won 13 out of 25 seats in Sabah, while Perikatan Nasional had won 1 seat, making it a total of 14 parliament seats. Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid was referring to an offer made by GPS earlier in the day to work with PN, BN and Gabungan Rakyat Sabah GRS to form the next federal government in the interest of political stability and the people's well-being. GPS also said that it would back PN Chief Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin as the Prime Minister. It was early on Sunday that GPS met with Tan Sri Muhyiddin to discuss about the possible pact. The meeting took place in the federal capital. After the discussion, Tan Sri Muhyiddin, in his social media posting, said that he is in talks with his GPS counterpart, Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Oping, which included past President Tan Sri Abdul Hadi Awang, whose party is a PN component, to form a coalition federal government. After chairing PN's Supreme Council meeting, Tan Sri Muhyiddin said he also met with GRS Chief Datuk Sri Haji Noor, who expressed support for the formation of the new federal government. Upon returning to Kuching, Tan Sri Abang Johari, who is Sarawak Premier, at a media conference enlisted the conditions for the deal if it materializes. They included upholding the supremacy of the federal and state constitutions and the rule of law, as provided for in the Malaysia Agreement 1963 MA63 and Intergovernmental Committee IGC report, wanting freedom of religion and cultural diversity in Sarawak to be upheld as enshrined in the Federal Constitution, MA63 and IGC report. In addition, wanting education and health autonomy as well as other matters related to Sarawak's interests. He was asked if there was any inking of deal to form the next federal government.
No signing. This is the kenyataan lah. Based on this kenyataan.
Break the ice.
We see lah. We see what is the decision. As far as GPS, that is our condition. Bukan tawar-menawar. Rakyat lebih penting. Negara lebih penting. Kita dah election, rakyat dah beri mandat, dan sekarang ini kerja kita menumbuhkan kerajaan berasaskan pada mandat yang kita terima.
The Sarawak Premier was asked if PN Chief Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin had made any offers to GPS.
Ya, perkara dudi. Perkara rakyat lebih penting. Kan kita gagal nak jadi timbalan Perdana Menteri. Kita gagal hal rakyat dulu ya. Rakyat penting. Next year recession dah yo. GPS kita utamakan rakyat. Kita utamakan kepentingan Sarawak. That has been our stand. So, setidaknya nak kejar kita, okay, you kejar, kita boleh kerjasama. These are the things that we want.
Tan Sri Abang Johari noted, however, that it was up to the Yang di-Pertuan Agong to choose a Prime Minister, the individual who commanded the majority of support. He was also asked if PH Chief Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim wanted to meet him.
Everybody want to see me. Honestly, I'm not telling you, I'm not there. Everybody want to see me.
So he was one of them,
Yes.
this morning.
This morning, you must remember, you kata want to see me, whether I see or not, that's material lah.
Pakatan Harapan PH Chairman Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim has denied rumours on a meeting with Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid on Sunday night for talks on cooperation to form a new government. He also has yet to name the parties which will support PH to form a new federal government, saying he will let these parties to make their own announcements on the matter. Earlier on Saturday night, Datuk Sri Anwar claimed that he is set to form the government.
No, I think what I'm saying is we will form a government only when we have the majority. And it will certainly be stable. All right? Terima kasih.
2 p.m. on Monday. That's the deadline given by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong to all party leaders and leaders of political blocs that won the most number of seats in the 15th General Election GE15. The King wants them to inform Istana Negara about the new coalition they have agreed upon to form the new government, as well as the name of their Prime Minister candidate by that time. In a statement, Comptroller of the Royal Household, Datuk Sri Ahmad Fadil Shamsuddin, said Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah has been notified by the Election Commission EC that no political party had been able to obtain a simple majority to form the new government after the GE15 on Saturday. As such, he said Istana Negara has sought cooperation from the incumbent Dewan Rakyat Speaker, Tan Sri Azizan Harun, to inform the newly elected people's representatives to submit their agreed coalition and the name of their PM candidate to Istana Negara. At 1:15 p.m. today, Al-Sultan Abdullah granted an audience to EC Chairman Tan Sri Abdul Ghani Saleh at Istana Negara and received the document on the official results of the GE15. The King also advised the people and political party leaders to abide by and respect the democratic process and accept the results of the GE15 with an open heart for the sake of the country. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong also reminded all that the country needs a government that is stable and has credibility and integrity to ensure the well-being of the people and drive the national prosperity agenda. At the same time, he said the King also called on the people to pray for the formation of the new government to run smoothly, and that Malaysia will continue to be blessed and protected from any form of disaster and calamity. The GE15 saw Pakatan Harapan PH obtaining 82 parliamentary seats, followed by Perikatan Nasional PN 73 and Barisan Nasional BN 30. Any party or coalition needs to obtain a simple majority of 112 seats in the 222-seat parliament to form the new government. In a later development, Dewan Rakyat Speaker Tan Sri Azhar Azizan Harun has requested political parties that won a substantial number of seats to submit the names of parties and independent members of parliament who agree to be part of a coalition of at least 112 seats to form the federal government via statutory declarations. In a statement, he said he had informed leaders and secretaries of the parties through a letter on Sunday in accordance with the wishes of the King. Tan Sri Azhar said the documents needed to be sent to Istana Negara by 2 p.m. on Monday. Following Barisan Nasional's dismal performance in the GE, UMNO's Supreme Council meeting scheduled for 3 p.m. Sunday was shelved at the 11th hour. It was to be chaired by its president, Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, who is also BN chief. The coalition's Supreme Council meeting later in the night at 8 was also called off. All these while the BN Supremo was facing calls to step down after dismal results, with it winning only 30 seats.
Well, some good, some not.
And barely hours after BN's dismal defeat in the GE, Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid started facing calls to step down as the party president and also as BN chief. But not everyone agrees with the call. UMNO Information Chief Sharil Hamdan resigned on Sunday and asked Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid to follow suit. In a statement, he said the BN chief must set an example and take responsibility for this defeat by stepping down with dignity. The defeat also saw Tan Sri Noh Omar quitting as Selangor BN chief.
Bahawa saya dengan resminya meletakkan jawatan sebagai pengurusi perhubungan UMNO negeri Selangor, kerana bukan saja Presiden tidak percaya pada saya pun dah hilang kepercayaan kepada Presiden. Saya pun tadi minta kalau Presiden ni berjiwa besar, dia patut letak jawatan seperti mana dulu Datuk Seri Najib bila kalah, dia dipaksa letak jawatan.
UMNO memerlukan perstrukturan baru parti untuk mendepani dan menjadikan parti ini sebagai pilihan rakyat di masa akan datang. Wanita UMNO Wilayah Persekutuan juga menjunjung tinggi keputusan dan tegas dengan pendirian No Anwar, No DAP seperti mana yang telah diputuskan dalam Perhimpunan Agung UMNO.
Sabah BN Chief Datuk Seri Bong Mokhtar Radin, however, does not share such sentiment.
Jadi adakah Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid wajar letak jawatan sebagai Presiden?
Saya ingat itu tidak sampai ke tahap itu. Kita akan bincang sebab actually semua pemimpin UMNO perlu bertanggungjawab. Sebab ini itu keputusan collective decision. So kalau letak jawatan, semualah kena letak jawatan.
Leaders of BN component parties have also joined the calls for Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid's resignation as UMNO President and BN Chairman following the coalition's dismal performance in GE15. Among them was MCA Secretary General Datuk Chong Sin Woon, who said the party had lost confidence in Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid's leadership. In a statement on Sunday, Datuk Chong said that MCA was also disappointed by Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid's decision to postpone the BN Supreme Council meeting scheduled for Saturday night. He added that MCA is also taking a stern stance that no party can represent BN to negotiate with any political parties without obtaining a mandate from the BN Supreme Council. Meanwhile, MIC Youth Chief K. Raven Kumar, in a separate statement on Sunday, said it was time for Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid to resign honourably for the sake of the party's survival. The action will also provide an opportunity for BN to recover and become relevant for Malaysians. GE15 also saw the crushing defeat of a number of political heavyweights and incumbents. Among the electoral casualties who also lost their deposits was Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, who suffered his first defeat in a general election in 53 years. The Pejuang chairman, who served as Malaysia's Prime Minister twice for over 2 decades, failed to defend his Langkawi parliamentary seat for a second term after securing only 4,566 votes out of 48,123 votes in a 5-cornered contest. Datuk Seri Mukris, who is Pejuang president, also failed to defend the Jerlon seat, which he had won twice in the past after securing a mere 3,144 votes. Other big names who lost their deposits included former Plantation Industry and Commodities Minister Datuk Zuraida Kamarudin, who failed to retain her Ampang seat. The Parti Bangsa Malaysia PBM President-designate, who has been MP for the seat since 2008, only gained 4,589 votes in the polls. The country's longest-serving MP, Tengku Razali Hamzah of BN, also lost his Gua Musang parliamentary seat, which he had served for close to 50 years, by a razor-thin margin of 163 votes. Other BN bigwigs who fell in GE15 were UMNO Vice President Datuk Seri Madzir Khalid, who was defeated in Padang Terap. MIC President Tan Sri S.A. Vigneswaran, who failed to capture the Sungai Siput seat, and Datuk Seri Tengku Adnan Tengku Mansor, who was booted out of Putrajaya. Former MCA President Tan Sri Leo Teong Lai, who recontested in Bentong under BN, failed to capture his former seat, while former Finance Minister Datuk Seri Tengku Zafrul Abdul Aziz, who is contesting for the first time, lost in Kuala Selangor. There were also several PH strongmen who shared the same fate with their rivals, such as PKR Secretary General Datuk Seri Saifuddin Nasution, who lost his Kulim Bandar Baharu seat, and former Education Minister Dr. Mazli Malik, also from PKR, who failed to defend his Simpang Renggam seat. Former International Trade and Industry Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Azmi Ali of PN also failed to defend his Gombak seat for a fourth term. He was among several key figures behind the Sheraton move, which led to the downfall of the Pakatan Harapan government in 2020. Meanwhile, one of the most shocking casualties in GE15 was Nurul Izzah Anwar, who lost Permatang Pauh, which had been a stronghold of Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim's family since 1982. Despite this, she accepted the defeat with an open heart and thanked all voters in Permatang Pauh for giving her the opportunity to represent them, which she said was the greatest honour of her life. The PKR Vice President also assured that she will make a return in Parliament. She was defeated by Muhammad Fawaz Matjan of PN in a four-cornered fight with a 5,272 vote majority. Another major casualty was former Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin, who lost in his bid to capture Sungai Buloh, which was retained by PH, represented by PKR, for 4 consecutive terms. However, Khairi said his loss in GE15 was not the end of the road for him, although he has yet to decide on his next step. Khairi had managed to obtain 48,250 votes but lost to R. Ramanan, who secured the seat with a 2,693 vote majority. This was Khairi's first defeat in a general election since 2008.
The factors influencing the voting trend in GE15 included more options for voters to choose from in terms of political parties. Voters also not only took into account local issues, but also external factors.
No doubt that there's a shift of trend in voters' preferences. And that's the reason, I think, why Pakatan Harapan and Perikatan Nasional gained the most number of parliament seats. And most probably the shift in voters' trend is due to the introduction of Undi 18 Act, which firstly to be used in the general election yesterday. And not only because of the 18, 19 and 20 years old, but mostly due to the first-time voters, which comprise of the younger generation, 39 years old below, 45 years old and below. Most probably, this group of voters have a different kind of view on our political situation, because not only they will analyze the local political situation, but they also take the context of geopolitical situation regionally or globally. And I think maybe the view Perikatan Nasional and Pakatan Harapan as a new party, considered as a new generation party, which suitable for them. I think that the reason why the shift from Barisan Nasional before this towards Perikatan Nasional and also Pakatan Harapan.
Mass shooting in nightclub leaves 5 dead. All this and more after this breather. Welcome back. Delegates from nearly 200 countries at the COP27 Climate Summit have agreed to set up a fund on Sunday meant to help poor countries that is being battered by climate disasters. In a landmark deal in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, the session approved a draft text provision to set up a loss and damage fund in order to help developing countries bear the immediate costs of climate-fueled events such as storms and floods. The final agreement marks the first time countries and groups, including long-time holdouts like the United States and the European Union, have agreed to establish a fund for nations vulnerable to climate disasters. The complete COP27 agreement also reaffirmed the goal of keeping global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, a key demand from a number of countries. An attempt to address the biggest source of the planet warming emissions that are causing the climate crisis, however, ended in a fiasco after a number of nations, including China and Saudi Arabia, blocked a key proposal to phase out all fossil fuels, not just coal. In the US, at least 5 people were killed while 18 others were wounded after a gunman opened fire at a nightclub in Colorado Springs. According to authorities, police received an initial emergency call about an active shooter at about 12 a.m. local time on Sunday. Police arrived at the scene and found the suspect inside the nightclub. The suspect has been taken into custody but is currently being treated for injuries. Police released no further information about the attacker and declined to speak about a possible motive. In the meantime, authorities said the number of dead and injured could change as investigation continues. In retaliation for a bomb attack in Istanbul that killed 6 people a week ago, Turkey has launched air raids on Kurdish militant bases in Iraq and Syria, destroying at least 89 targets. In confirming the matter, Turkey's defense ministry said the raids, dubbed Operation Claw Sword, struck Kurdish bases, including shelters and ammunition depots, which were being used to launch attacks on the country. The strikes, the ministry said, had targeted Kandil, Assos and Kirkuk in Iraq and Kobani, Tal Rifat, Cizre and Durik in northern Syria, adding that so-called directors of the terrorist organization were among those neutralized. The raids come a week after a bombing on one of Istanbul's busiest streets, which killed 6 people and injured more than 80. So far, no individual or group has claimed responsibility. Kurdish-led forces in Syria meanwhile vowed to retaliate and said the city of Kobane was hit as well as 2 densely populated villages. JDT booked Malaysia Cup final spot. Sports when we come back. Welcome back. On to sports now. Johor Darul Takzim JDT have booked a spot in the Malaysia Cup final after beating Sabah in the second leg semi-final on Sunday night. They advanced to the final thanks to a 4-1 aggregate win. JDT won through goals from Bergson de Silva in the 35th minute, Fernando Forestieri 6 minutes later, and Shafiq Ahmad deep into injury time. Taiki Kagayama scored the consolation goal for Sabah in the 3-1 defeat. On to World Superbike. Newly crowned champion Alvaro Bautista signed off the 2022 season with victory on Sunday in the season finale.
Bautista was being chased by Jonathan Ray when the race was stopped with 5 laps to go due to an accident at Turn 1 involving Eugene Lavati competing in his final race before retirement and Xavi Forest. Lavati was taken to the medical centre for a checkup and described as conscious after the off-camera incident. Alex Lewis completed the final podium of the year ahead of Toprak Razgatlioglu. Bautista finishes the season with 16 wins, with Razgatlioglu on 14 and 6 for Ray.
Still to come, over 100,000 ringgit worth of contraband cigarettes in Johor. Welcome back. In Johor, the Malaysian Army confiscated 1,900 cartons of contraband cigarettes with 114,000 ringgit in an operation conducted around Tanjung Logot, Tenggara on Sunday. According to the 3rd Division Infantry, the team rushed to carry out patrol after receiving information of suspicious movements in the area. Checks on the area found 38 boxes of contraband cigarettes on the coast. The boxes were believed to have just been lifted from the waters and were waiting to be picked up by the retailer's middlemen. Further probe is being conducted on all the 38 boxes. A report was lodged at the Tanjung Sedili police station. The seized items will be handed over to the Customs Department for further action. As we wrap up Nightline this time around, let's take a look as more than 300 children in northwest Syria kick off their own Football World Cup, with organisers hoping to shine a light on communities battered by 11 years of war. With that, I'm Nadia Azmi. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and have a great week ahead.